In the year 1202, Leonardo of Pisa, better known as Fibonacci, uncovered a link for merging the study of mathematics, nature, and art. Not only did Fibonacci introduce the Christian world to the Hindu Arabic numerals we use today, but he also posed a seemingly innocuous problem about bunny rabbits. Fibonacci wanted to know how many rabbits would be produced in a year, beginning with a single pair. He assumed that starting in January and continuing every month thereafter, each pair of rabbits would bear a new pair once they were a month old. As he worked towards a solution, he noticed a pattern emerging. The number of rabbit couples increased in a certain sequence each month: 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. Each number in this series equals the sum of the two previous numbers. 3 plus 5 equals 8, 5 plus 8 equals 13, and so on. These numbers, growing to infinity, are known as the Fibonacci series. This may appear to be of little consequence, but these numbers would become the key to unlocking more mysteries than a plague of bunnies. For instance, in the field of botany, the structure of flowers is based on Fibonacci numbers. Lilies have a radial symmetry based on 3. Violets have 5 petals. Sunflowers have petals totaling 33, 55, or 89. This phenomenon, not explained until 1993, appears to go beyond genetics to the natural dynamics of growth. Whether it is the spiral of consecutive seeds in a sunflower, the spiraling growth of a chambered nautilus, or the branching structure of bronchi in the lungs, organic growth is often guided by a mathematical ratio stemming from the Fibonacci series. As Fibonacci numbers increase, the proportion of two successive numbers becomes more and more similar. The ratio approaches but never reaches an infinite decimal beginning with the numbers 1.618. This ratio was given the name the divine proportion and was later called the golden mean. Eventually, it was given the abbreviation phi after the initial of the Greek sculptor Phidias, creator of the artwork on the Parthenon. As early as the Pythagorean school in 500 BC, the Greeks studied the ratio of phi and developed a method of constructing a rectangle with sides measuring 1 and phi. With a perfect square, a line from the midpoint, and an arc, they created what was later called a golden rectangle. The Greeks also found that if they removed the original square, what was left was itself a golden rectangle. The Greeks believed that the golden rectangle held a mathematical key to beauty, and they incorporated it into many designs. The most striking example may be the Parthenon, with most of its proportions based on golden rectangles. The Greeks were not the first to use the visual balance of phi in their architecture. 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians based the design of the Great Pyramid of Cheops on golden proportions. This measurement may not have been intentional, but it reinforces the belief that phi holds some universal aesthetic appeal. For centuries, artists have studied the psychology of beauty, while biologists have sought to untangle the complexities of nature. Yet it was Fibonacci, an Italian mathematician 800 years ago, who found the common mathematical thread that connects these two disciplines and provides a deeper understanding.
Individuality, the trademark of any artist, designer, or architect. Each desires a uniqueness to their creation, a quality that separates it from any other. Man naturally has this individuality, his fingerprint. There are 6.5 billion people on the face of the earth, and no two fingerprints are the same. Everything we touch or make contact with is branded with a small expressed image revealing to all who see it who was there. As currents move through the ocean and the tide rolls onto the shore, the waves that bring in the tide curve into a spiral that can be mathematically diagrammed onto a plot at the points 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and 55. Buds on trees, sand dollars, starfish, petals on flowers, and especially the nautilus shell are formed with this exact same blueprint. With each segment of growth, the nautilus adds to itself one more value on Fibonacci's scale. This blueprint can be seen around us on a small scale every day, but the greatest example of all is directly above our heads. At an average of 100,000 light years across, even the spiral of the galaxies above us are formed with the exact design that the tiny shell is formed. This sequence, or blueprint, appears to be the trademark of a designer, a proof of a creator, something left behind indicating the one who was there, a fingerprint. As we scan our universe from the tiny flower to the awe-inspiring galaxy, we see the fingerprint of God. And we are forced to ask, who is God?
Holy Mysteries, in theaters in September 2009. Mecca has been ordered as Qibla direction, convention place for billions of Muslims, and as the holy center of Islam. Soon, you will witness the scientific proof of unbelievable mysteries that have remained hidden in the holy city, Mecca, for thousands of years. The constant, superior design number of mathematics, 1.618. The Creator has always used the very same number in numerous events in the universe. In our heart pulses, the aspect ratio of DNA spiral, and the special design of the universe, which is named as dodecahedron, and the leaf array rules of plants, which is named as phyllotaxy, in the snowflakes, crystals, in the spiral structure of numerous galaxies. The Creator has used the same number, the number of golden mean, 1.618. It is observed that this ratio is applied to the pyramids of Egypt, like it was applied to various famous architectural works. Famous astronomer Kepler defines this number as a precious treasury. As the vision expert Dr. Stephen Markout has proved as a result of his 25-year-long study that human faces and bodies designed pursuant to this ratio are accepted as beautiful by every single person in the world. If the aspect ratio of any form is 1.618, then this form is convenient to golden mean. Perfect design. So, where is the golden mean point of the Earth? The proportion of distance between Mecca and the North Pole to the distance between Mecca and the South Pole is exactly 1.618, the golden mean. the proportion of the distance between the South Pole and the city of Mecca to the distance between both poles is again 1.618. The miracle is not over yet. The golden mean point of the earth, according to common location language of mankind, graticule map, is in the city of Mecca. The proportion of eastern elongation to the western elongation, which are determined as solstice line from Mecca, is again 1.618. Moreover, as shown in the figure, the proportion of western elongation of Mecca to the solstice line to the perimeter of the earth on this very latitude is surprisingly the golden mean, 1.618. The golden mean point of the earth for all mapping systems, even though they vary by a few kilometers, is always within the city borders of Mecca, within the holy region that includes Kaaba. You can measure very sensitively the distance between any 2 points with the help of Google Earth's ruler feature. If you wish, you can verify the correctness of the given ratios by calculating latitude and longitude with a simple calculator. The Thematrix program is an American program that is used to show golden mean of pictures and paintings. If we accept the graticule map of the earth as an alive painting whose depth never ends and open it in this program, we will find out that the golden mean point of the earth is the city of Mecca. With respect to positive longitude and latitude values and being on the lands, not the sea, the only golden mean point of the earth is Mecca. Miracles continue. The golden mean miracle in the Mecca verse of the Quran. There is one unique verse in the Quran that includes Mecca word and an expression that tells there are clear evidences within the city which will give belief to humanity. The relation between the city of Mecca and the golden mean is clearly engraved in the Ali Imran Surah, 96th verse. The total number of all letters of this verse is 47. Calculating the golden mean of letter total, we find out that the word of Mecca is expressed by 47 divided by 1.618 equals 29. There are 29 letters from the beginning of the verse till the word Mecca. Just like it is in a world map. If only one single word or letter was missing, this ratio could never be constituted. Without any imbalance, we have conducted the very same process that we conducted on the earth map and witnessed the glorious coherence of letter numbers that reveals the relation of Mecca and the golden mean. All this shows that the creator of the earth and mathematics is the same one God. Like a description that created Kaaba, holy region, and the Quran. He reminds whole humanity that knowing the future and common languages of humanity, he gave clues for them. A newer invention on the relation between the golden mean, Mecca, Kaaba, and the Quran becomes revealed in each single day. In the figure, it is shown that the measurements with golden mean compass, also known as Leonardo compass, indicate that the city of Mecca is located on the golden mean of Arabia, while Kaaba is located on the golden mean of the city. The probability calculations indicate that all these facts cannot be a mere coincidence. Try to survive with miracle news in holy books, with the golden mean of the world, with the holy mysteries about the Jesus the Christ and the Prophet Muhammad, and with scientific proof.
يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي.
All the praise is for Allah, who is the author of all existence and the most generous to his creation, while he is also the all-compelling. He is the only one worthy of our worship, having no partners, no associates, no sons, no daughters, no one whom he must consult, and no one or anything which has any comparison with him. All the praise is for Allah, who is the King of all who claim sovereignty, the only one who has the right to legislate for his creatures. He is the giver of life. He is the causer of death, while death has no effect upon him, because he is the ever-living, the self-subsisting, the eternal and the only absolute. All the praise is for Allah, who has power over all things, and there is in reality no power and no strength, no influence to cause benefit or detriment except through him. It is he who created this complex world, the seen and the unseen, the evident and the speculative, the earth and all that is on it and everything that is in it. It is he who sent his messengers and prophets, alayhimus salam, with the common message of strict monotheism, which simply means that there's absolutely no one worthy of worship, no one worthy of our obedience except the Almighty, the One, the Absolute, and who has no partners.
The earlier messages which changed the world in the area in which the prophets were sent, those messages we know have changed, and even the prophets who brought them, their names are now lost. We just know in general because Allah told us in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. I've sent to every nation a messenger, calling people to worship Allah alone and to avoid the worship of false gods. This essential message has been preserved in Islam in a way that it was never preserved before. Not because the message was different, because it was the same message, but because of the fact that there would be no other prophets who would come after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore that message now had to be protected. It had to be preserved in a way none of the earlier messages were preserved.
Evidently it is what you say you have come to know 40 years back, and what you call the Big Bang is already mentioned in the book which I read, the glorious Quran. It's mentioned 1400 years ago in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30, which says, Avalam yaral lazina kafaru. Do not the unbelievers see anna samawati wal arda kanat ratkan fataqnahuma, that the heaven and the earth were joined together and we clove them asunder. What you're talking about, the Big Bang,
I try to imagine compressing a spring. I push it closer and closer and closer together, so it's smaller and smaller and smaller, and I've stored a tremendous amount of energy in that spring, and when I let it go, it bursts out, it bursts out, it bursts out.
the creation of the universe, which you came to know 40 years back, is already mentioned in this book, the glorious Quran, 1400 years ago. Who could have mentioned that in the Quran? So the atheists will say, maybe someone wrote, maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's a guesswork.
A human being, regardless of who they are, or where they are, or what they do, will have this curiosity. They'll want to know, why am I here? How did I get here? And do I have a purpose? And if so, what is it? The only one who would really be able to answer that question would be the Creator himself. If there is a Creator, it would be up to him to tell us why we were created and what he expects from us and what this life is really about. Allah has shown the people from the time of Adam until right now, has shown the people what he wants from them. And it's a very simple thing, and that is that worship be for him alone without any partners. In fact, we know this life to be a test from Almighty God. That's why we're born, and that's why we die, because there has to be a beginning and an end for us to be tested on. The next life, after this life, no one will ever die again. A bad person or a good person. Both are brought back, and they continue to live in the next life, either in good shape or not so good shape, depending on how they did on the test. The worship of the God of Abraham, that was what was taught by these prophets.
The Lord of the Arsh and Kursi. We're talking about the Lord of the worlds. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We're talking about the Lord of the entire universe and beyond. The entire universe and beyond. You know, we live in this dunya, and we are fascinated with this dunya which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indeed has created in a beautiful manner. We're fascinated. There are over billions of people which live on this dunya at this moment in time. Over 6 billion people that live on the dunya at this moment in time. This dunya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so big that there is space in this dunya for billions and billions and billions or more people. But what is this dunya in comparison to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created out there? This dunya is insignificant. This dunya is meaningless to Allah. It means nothing. It is worthless. So worthless, compare it with the sun. The sun is one star. You know more science than me. You'll be able to tell me better. Take this planet Earth and you place it inside the sun, and you will be able to place 1.3 million Earths in the sun. 1.3 million Earths in the sun. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest. The sun is one star. One star. There are stars out there which are millions of times bigger than the sun. You tell me this, that you need millions and millions of stars to make one galaxy. And then you tell me this, that there are zillions of galaxies out there. Let me tell you on top of this, my friend, after this, whatever you see above, when you raise your head and you look above, whatever you see above, the zillions and zillions and zillions of galaxies, let me tell you, this is everything there is within the first heaven. Everything there is within the first heaven, and Allah is the creator of 7 heavens. 7 heavens. And the distance between the first heaven and the second heaven is 500 years. You know, the distance that can be covered in 500 years, at what speed? Only Allah knows. Only Allah knows. But it will take 500 years to get from the first heaven to the second heaven. 500 years from the second to the third, third to the fourth, fourth to the fifth, fifth to the sixth, sixth to the seventh. Every time it will take 500 years. After the 7 heavens, وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. You all read the Ayatul Kursi. You all know the Ayatul Kursi. After this, you have the Kursi of Allah. You have the chair of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know these 7 heavens that we've just talked about, in comparison to the Kursi of Allah, they're non-existent. They're meaningless. Rasulullah ﷺ has given an example in a hadith just to give us a little bit of understanding with regards to the 7 heavens in comparison to the kursi of Allah. Take a ring from your finger, take it off, the small ring that you have, and place it, let's say, in a desert, the Sahara Desert. It's the biggest desert in the world. You know that ring that we take off from our fingers and place it in the Sahara Desert? What comparison is in between the ring and the Sahara Desert? Nothing. Nothing. The 7 heavens is the ring, and the kursi of Allah is the Sahara Desert. After the kursi of Allah, you have the arsh of Allah. وَكَانَ أَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. You have the arsh of Allah. Again, Rasulullah has explained, so just so that we can understand. Take the ring, place it in the desert. This time, the ring is the kursi and the arsh is the desert. What is the kursi in comparison to the arsh of Allah? Nothing. Then you have angels which carry the arsh of Allah. Their heads are in the 7th heaven and their feet are in the lowest earth. My friends, then you have the Lord of the Arsh and Kursi. لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار وهو اللطيف الخبير. He is beyond the size of Allah, who Allah is, what Allah is. The greatness of Allah is beyond the comprehension of my little mind. This is the being that you and I are messing with.
يعلم